See, welcome to Inside the Nation Live Q&A. Sorry, I got on here a little bit late. Trying to see. Okay. So, I want to say, bear with me. This is going to be a little slow-paced live Q&A. Recovering from a cold. I'm a little congested right now, but I'm here. Made it. Last week, I apologize. I missed it. Just May in general has been bad for me. Suffered a severe lower leg injury. It caused me to miss it. So that's it. Let's get going with some of the questions. And this is from week 3 Arena Football. There he is, Mr. Tom Jones, the singer, who's going to sing live next week for us. No, I'm just kidding, Tom. What's up, Tom? So once again, bear with me, my congestion. It's just been a bad month of May for me to start off with. So I do have one thing that I might have to come up with. Not a lot of people have known this, but I've been operating Ninth Man Nation. I would say basically pretty much since its inception in 2016, and Tom could attest to this, is that I've been doing this while being unemployed. I've had spot jobs here and there, but nothing really. But I want to say thanks to everybody who's been following us on the different social platforms, who's been visiting the website. I want to thanks to our new Philadelphia Soul contributor, Eric Williamson, for the first time of having a staff reporter for Ninth Man Nation. It helps me out a little bit, try to get more content out there, and especially from more of a local area. Because as you know, that by now that I'm in California and all the teams are out east. So if you have any questions, I know the main thing is, excuse me. See, like I said, I'm catching a cold here, or getting over one. So apologize for that. But anybody have any questions regarding week 3 action? I'm already knowing around the social media realms that a lot of people are already not liking this new non-1 minute warning rule stuff. The traditional way of playing the Arena Football League was to have a 1 minute warning rule, and then that would be a normal stoppage rule play in the second quarter. But in the fourth quarter, it will be the same, except for when it comes down to time where there's enough time or lack of time left on the clock to where the team that has the ball and is leading the game can, in a sense, sort of like kneel it, but they could not kneel it. They would have to make at least 1 yard forward progress with the ball. So the team losing, if they had the ball, they could choose to kneel it if they want, just to, sort of like say, give up. But yeah, this 1 minute timing rule thing change for this year has already seen dramatic results in its effect. Yes, it's speeding up the game. But 2, it's also lowering the scoring of the game. What brought, myself and possibly Tom here to be attracted to the Arena Football League in the first place was the high energy and high scoring of the game. The competition, the strategy, especially the strategy that goes into the last 1 minute for possession stake of each half, especially the end of the game. I've seen some action to where, like at the San Jose SaberCats games, where they would have like 21, 24 points scored in 1 minute. So the game was really never over, and that made the excitement just that much more great. This new 1 minute rule and the allowing of the team in the lead at the end of the clock to take a knee is not. This is going to the outdoor game, and that's not what we need. We need to bring the rules back to where the 1 minute rules are back, especially with the fact that the league is sort of saying that they're on a reboot, rebrand. This is the new league, and that's the old league, and all that stuff. This is a different league, I would say. It has the same name, Arena Football League, and you see some of the familiar players in there, but it's a different league. It's not the same old thing. I would prefer to bring back Iron Man football. Bring back the two-way play of the players instead of being single-way, because you had a different type of athlete back in the early 2000s when they had two-way player, and then they had single-way play. So that's it. Also, just a little, I guess, bit of information. It is public. If you were to go and research it and look it up, I did find some information about possible locations of expansion. I know the trademarks have been registered by the league. We already said Columbus Destroyers was registered, and all these trademarks I'm about to say were registered at the same time and date. Well, not necessarily the same time, but the same date, January 4th, 2019. We had first the Columbus Destroyers name being trademarked. We also have the Grand Rapids Rampage name being trademarked. We have the Utah Blaze name being trademarked. And then we also have the Los Angeles Avengers name being trademarked. And I've learned that Austin Wranglers name has been trademarked. So with that said, that's probably the target demographics or the target markets that the league is eyeing for future expansion. But that's hearsay. There's been now a release, I guess, what was it? On the Washington Valor game against Atlantic City at halftime, Roger Modi came on the air, and basically they were talking expansion there, and his point of view is that they're only going to expand 2 teams in 2020, and then 2 teams in 2021 and be up to 10, and then stop. While it has been noted by both Commissioner Randall Moe and Roger Worski that they're looking at 4, maybe 6 teams just for next year. So there's kind of I know that they're talking expansion every week. It's like a daily or weekly thing in the league office, but the numbers are being construed differently, and basically they shouldn't be even talking about on air. They say, yeah, we are talking expansion, but we're not going to say any numbers right now. Just keep it neutral. Don't get anybody's hype up to how many cities or markets that you're looking. Welcome, Eric. Thanks for joining in. Eric Williamson just joined in. And he asks, what rule changes do you think the Arena Football League should make? I probably discussed this at the beginning of the stream. You probably just missed it, but reverting back to the 1-minute warning and on both first half and second half, bringing back some integrity to this game. Basically, that's one thing they need to go back. It's not working. It's lowering the scores down to make the game, because if you make the time expire quicker, you're going to have a lot less plays being able to take place. A lot less, scoring drives. And therefore the scores are going down. We have already witnessed this. What was it? I guess Columbus scored only like 19 points, and it was 35-19 as a final score. I haven't seen that for years. As far as for being a final score. If it was like a fluke game. But yeah, the scores, we're barely getting into the 50s. We only have maybe 2 games that were 50. The first game with the Washington, Baltimore, 59-51. And recently with, who was it? Albany and Philadelphia this past weekend. That was a shootout. That shootout right there with Albany and Philadelphia this past Saturday was sort of an example of the past Arena Bowl or Arena Football Leagues rules. But the rule changes that need to be changed is just that. That's one of the rule changes. And then the fact that if your team is leading at the end of the fourth quarter and you have the ball, you cannot kneel the ball, take a knee. That's set for the outdoor game. Well, you have to make forward progress in order to keep the clock going. Otherwise, if you don't make past the line of scrimmage or line of gain to make forward progress, the clock stops, and that benefits the defense and it prevents their timeout. So it's just more strategically better than that. Welcome, John. Anyways, his question is, any ways fans can get them to change the rules? I'm sure there are. I'm sure if you email the commissioner for his league office email address, I don't know what it is. I think it's randobo@monumental.com or something like that, or commissioner, AFL commissioner at arenafootball.com. I'll comment back to you, once this is done. I'll put his email address. But yeah, if you, email him, or you could tag him on social media, and if you email the commissioner, or not commissioner, Jaworski, things can be done if the fans voice their frustrations about the league and the way it's gone and the league change and how it's not the same. It's not as high scoring. It's not as energetic. It's slower paced, less drives. I believe I was even watching the Washington Valor game this week, hosting Atlantic City, and from what I could tell, it's like you know how in between plays, a lot of places will play music of different things to hype the crowd up or whatever, or to distract the visiting team when they're on offense. I hardly heard that until probably close in late in the second half or something. They start playing some music or whatever. But yeah, that's what I was saying. Just, communicate with the commissioner or league office. Say, hey, you're an original fan of the Arena Football League, and we understand there's no teams here in San Jose, John. But from your viewpoint of the league, that you're not liking what you're seeing, it's kind of disappointing, and you're not willing to sit down and watch it because it's not as fun. And you wouldn't want to be, spending your money going to a game that's not as fun. And also, with that said, the fact that the games are shorter, fans look towards the end of the work week to get away from themselves, to spend, some time away from, the work environment, what have you, and they want to go out and spend some, time with friends and family out at an entertainment venue. And the Arena Football League was their escape. If you're going to shorten the game, you're shortening the amount of time that they're spending there. They're not going to want to come because less time spent there, but yet they're also spending the same dollar amount on tickets for a less amount of time. It's like saying that you go to a movie, and the movies are usually around 2 hours long. You pay X amount of dollars. No, they're going to shorten the movies down to an hour and a half or hour and 15 minutes, but yet you're still paying that 2 hour dollar amount. It doesn't make sense. So something has to be done with that too. Basically, that's all I got for you right there. What else can we talk about? I guess, yeah, that's just what you have to do is you have to speak up to the league office. If they shorten the game, they should make it cheaper for the fans. Yeah, they need to compensate because, yeah, you're there less time. Even though probably the operating cost of the game, like renting the arena and insurance and all that stuff, is still the same for the team. Actually, probably, well, yeah, because you're renting the arena for the day because you have to do the field prep and all that stuff prior to the game. Basically, yeah, the cost of the tickets should go down too if you're spending less time on there. So basically, we're just expressing our opinions Okay, Ryan Walker, welcome to the stream. 3 weeks in the books, which team has been your biggest surprise, and which team has been your biggest disappointment? Now, if you're just talking about from a performance-wise, disappointment-wise, I would say, well, yeah, Eric, you're talking about Baltimore and all that stuff because of fans, but that they're been consistent. They actually have been consistent regarding fans. But as far as for the team's overall performances, I think all the teams are playing, to the level they're playing. We expected Albany to be good. They're 3-0 right now. Philadelphia, we expected them to be good because they got their core players back. They always seem to get their core set of players back. Baltimore, I think it will be the surprise, basically because they went from having an established quarterback last year in Randy Hippard and leading them to the Arena Bowl to Shane Boyd, who's been around this league for a long time. He was with Arizona. He was with San Antonio Talons. So he's been in and around this league, but he has mainly been around as like a backup quarterback per se, not a starter. So you could say Baltimore. Washington, I would say, I think they're edging to be a surprise. Their record says they're 1-2. But you got to think all these teams are playing with new players, and the majority of the team is that Columbus, I would say, is getting the short end of the stick because the majority of the team is rookies. Not too many AFL vets are on that team. You got Donovan Morgan, I'm sorry, I just had a brain for it. Donovan Morgan on offense, and you got Varmasoni on the defense, and you got a couple other players and what have you. But for the most part, if you've seen their games, that you've been hearing names called that you don't recognize in the Arena Football League. So, and then Atlantic City maybe could be considered the disappointment because they basically got, Coach James there, you got, Shane Stafford. You got all the coaching people that were from like Tampa Bay Storm when they were in the Arena Bowl against Philadelphia 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, something like that. That they basically transitioned. You got Randy Hippard coming back, leading the way, Atlantic City, and you got the core set of players there too. I would say they would be, even though their expansion team just in location and in team name being something new. But as far as from a player group set, they're pretty much experienced, especially as compared to Columbus. So I would consider them to be the disappointment as of right now. I would consider them maybe being more like maybe at the most 2-1 instead of 1-2. But they've been in some tough competition right now. So let's see. And then, like I say, you can't really say anything with Columbus, especially since they've had their first 3 games on the road. And they have all this traveling, so that can make it, kind of stressful on them. Baltimore seems to be really getting fans. What should the league do? Well, the league should promote and advertise in Baltimore. Apparently they don't do that. I think it's a monumental thing. They did all the hype when they expanded to, like, wrapping a city bus, but I think they only did one bus, and we don't know how long they kept it on there, and what routes it drove. But yeah, there's hardly any advertising. So do you think need to do something type of show like the NFL does? Actually, that's good. I was going to transition to that. I think besides doing just the games, I think the Arena Football League needs to do like a pregame live show and their own postgame live show after the game. Excuse me. Basically, they need to do that, and then a step away from the game days, say like on a Wednesday or so, they need to have their own Inside the Arena Football League show or AFL Weekly show, and they need to have it on regular TV, like on ESPN or Fox Sports. I know they just signed with ESPN, and all that stuff, at least for the streaming part, and then to have ESPN2 just to do the Arena Bowl by itself. But yeah, they need an added half an hour or an hour-long broadcast separate from the league during the week to do it. That's one way. Each of the individual teams, I see Albany, they're all over and on TVs. They have a live radio show they do on Thursdays at a sports bar, but it actually gets aired Saturday mornings. They're on a local TV station there. I think they're on 2 TV stations there with, they have the Albany Express show there, Empire Express. That stuff, it almost sort of competes against, saying that the teams that are sort of run by, I guess, Trifecta, you could say, as compared to, say, the teams that are operated by Monumental, which are Baltimore, Washington, and Columbus, are not getting the exposure they need. So Columbus maybe, because you got Dominic Jones, and I know he's working his butt off there and trying to get the team known, and then you got just a standard great arena football following in Columbus, but you cannot rely on that because they may not be ready to come back, after how things went down in 2009. So, but basically, the Arena Football League needs to get more TV content. They cannot rely on streaming alone. The masses who watch the games, especially if you go to sports bars and grill, watch it over TV stations. They don't watch it streaming because a lot of these sports bars and grills are not set up with the piping to do OTT platforms on their TVs. I mean, yeah, it's easy to get these TVs to be smart TVs and have the necessary sports apps on them so you can stream, or to install Apple TV to these TVs so you could install, whether it be the Monumental Sports Network app or whether it be the Arena Football League app or ESPN app so you can watch these games. But none of these TVs are connected, and the Wi-Fi connectivity is not that great. Even just from a standard customer going to these restaurants, the Wi-Fi connectivity is not that great, and plus it's not secured. So there are some things they need to do as far as for adding more content and not to rely on OTT, because OTT is not standardized. People don't have it, and you see when they did the ESPN3 announcement, a lot of people were just questioning on how to see it and watch it and all that stuff. So they need to have it on regular TV as well. And to have an AFL weekly show, on Wednesdays, to go over what happened, what has transpired, transactions, injury report, depth report, game highlights. That's also another thing I want to tack on to. I think the game highlights need to be fed not only to the local TV station markets that broadcast a game, but other TVs within that same market, other TV stations within that same market. And then also they need to be distributed, the video highlights need to be distributed to, they got a partnership with ESPN, so they need to do that. They need to also be distributed to Fox Sports. They need to distribute to CBS Sports Network, NBC Sports, BN, Stadium. Which Stadium is more like an OTT, but they're on some TV stations that do have Stadium on there. So there are TV stations that need to have the video highlights to these games, so that way people know what's going on. I know from a marketing standpoint, a lot of these TV stations and the networks won't do anything with them unless it's the big games, like the playoffs or like the Arena Bowl, but before then, it's just regional TV stations. But even then, you need to get the video highlights out to these TV stations to show them to. And then to online providers like myself, I could put video highlights on each of the game reports that I get from the teams to coincide with the game recaps. I can share them on Inside the Nation, shows when I come back to them. I can put clips on. Audio bites can be given to us too from the games, that can be used for the podcast version. And I know Arena Fan has their podcast. I know Battle Station's podcast can use game bites. So, excuse me. I apologize for that. Once again, I'm still recovering from a cold. But yeah, there's a lot of the stuff that, exposure that needs to be done for this league. especially in Baltimore. Because I don't see if Baltimore things don't change rapidly, then they're already halfway through their home games. There's only 6 home games. They've already played 3. So if things don't change rapidly, could we see the Brigade returning to Kansas City? Who knows, because they're saying that Baltimore is supposed to be a great town for football, but apparently not for arena football. So who knows what could happen with that. That's basically all I have for this thing. I want to thank everybody who has come in and joined in on the conversation. John Bringus, Ryan Walker, Eric Williamson, the Philadelphia Soul reporter for myself, and then Tom Jones. I want to thank you all for watching this week's Inside the Nation live Q&A. Hopefully next week I'm sure I'll come back next week with a live Q&A and not be congested and not be sneezing and all that stuff all over the TV here. But that's it. Also, keep in mind that because, like I said at the beginning of the stream, that I will be starting new work this Thursday, so I have to bear on my new work schedule that's going to happen, and then try to transition. Just follow us here on Facebook, as you already will, and then also on Twitter and Instagram for any updates that I do to this particular show. And then once again, we'll probably get back to regular Inside the Nation programming, probably next week, not this week, just because I was going to do it this week, but because of my cold and my work scheduling coming up on Thursday, things have to change, and unfortunately I do have to put it off one more week, just to see where my schedule is going to be. But that's it. So, we'll see you at the games this week. Talk to you later.